If you think your favorite character has had it rough in life, think again. This man Benji is only 18 years old. He was left with no choice but to work for the Yakuza because of the stupid amount of debt his father left him with before he committed die. As she's on his way to the Yakuza, then she starts counting how much money he's received after cutting trees, selling his kidney, right eye, and even one of his balls. And eat, my friend. This is the level of poverty we are talking about. He sold everything down to one of his nuts. But there's so much money that he still owes. By the way, he's not alone. Our boy Denji has a cute little companion named Fukita. He is his only friend. Suddenly the cheetah barks, which is good because that means there's a devil nearby, and that means they can get some good money by selling this dead devil. Sure enough, there's a tomato devil, which he kills when Vegeta turns into a chainsaw. The den collector, as well as the Yankees. A leader is pleased with this. He says he'll pay him for 100,000 yen, which is a lot more than you expected. But unfortunately, this is a cool world we live in. After all the fees and interests, Denji is left with only 70,000 yen, and that's like $500. For those of you are wondering, after he pays the bill, he's left with just 1,800 yen. About 15 bucks. When the leader's driver realizes how Denji could do anything for money, he asks him to eat his cigarette for 100 yen, which Denji gladly accepts. I did just run down place to eat bread, but then she comments how people put jam on it. But to them, it's just a dream. He'll probably die before he can actually the debt, or won't ever get a girlfriend. This makes him recall his past, how on his father's grave, the debt collector told them to gather 700,000 again by tomorrow, or he'll be chopped into multiple pieces. Denji saw a devil with a chainsaw, and prepared himself to die, but the devil was bleeding all over the place. Seeing this, Denji offers the devil his own blood. The devil was Vegeta, and from that day onward, they had each other's back. But their situation has hardly changed. That bread wasn't enough. Denji's still hungry, and that hunger is making it hard to sleep. So he talks to Pachita. He talks about his dream. He wants to have bread with jam, have a girlfriend, play games with her, and then ultimately fall asleep in her arms as they hug each other. After seeing this, he coughs up blood, but doesn't stop talking to Pituga. He says that his mother also had a heart disease. Cough blood. However, if this moment wasn't painful enough already, that debt collector Yakuza shows up and tells Benji that there is devil hunting work for him to do. So he's taken to an abandoned factory. Then she's confused because there obviously aren't any devils. And while the Yakuza leader talks, he appreciates Denji for his being a loyal puppy dog and working for cheap all the time. But it's over suddenly. A man comes from behind and stabs both Denji and Vegeta. The Yakuza has made the deal with the zombie devil. It'll give them power, while in return, it wants dead devil hunters. Well, the zombie devil was indeed there, but the Yakuza were too stupid to foresee their own downfall. The zombie devil turns all of them and then orders them to kill Denji. Then Yu was already on the verge of death. He tries to run, but they catch up, start chopping him into pieces, and then throw him into a dumpster. But out of a twist of fate, Denji's blood enters Vegeta's mouth. In his final moments, Denji tells Vegeta to take his body once he's dead. But the next thing you know, Denji wakes up all whole. He has a vision. He hears Vegeta's voice, who loves hearing Denji talk about his dreams. So he decides to give his heart to Denji, so that they can continue to listen, and even see Denji achieve his dreams. Denji then confronts the zombie devil. He notices a string on his chest, which is cheapest pull string, and when he pulls on it, he becomes a devil-human hybrid. Chainsaws grow out of his head and arms, and it becomes the Chainsaw Man. Zombie Devil tries to fight with his zombies, but Chainsaw Man gets rid of them all. Next morning, a car shows up in front of this factory. A red-headed lady named Makira comes out with two men into the factory and see the aftermath of that bloodbath. She approaches Denji and really flies. Is that well? He's the one who did this then. She then asks her for a hug, and surprisingly enough, she gives him a hug. He then goes back to his normal human state. Makima explains that it was her job to kill the zombie devil because she's with public safety. And seeing how Denji's already taken care of, she chooses to give him two options. Either get killed as a devil or be kept by her as a human. And in that case, she'll make sure he's being fed properly. So Genji asks her what exactly you'll be given for breakfast. She says bread with butter and jam, salad, coffee, and some dessert as well. Then Ji's eyes light up awesome. And so he ends up becoming her pet human dog. She also tells him that from now on, she only expects yes or woof. As replies, he doesn't want a dog that says no. This scares him a little, but it's fine. Then his stomach growls as he recalls, but she just sacrificed Makima, buys some food, gives him a coat, and even feeds. No one had ever been this nice to Benji before in his life, so by this point, Arity is madly in love with her. They arrive at the Devil Hunter's headquarters. Until jail then, she thought he'd be teaming up with Makima, but she gives him a uniform and introduces him to Aki. Haikawa Denji is visibly frustrated. He says he doesn't want to work unless it's with Makima, so she tells him that if he does a good job, they might be able to work together. In the future, Aki takes him to a back alley, under the pretense of air patrol, and then hits him a few times. He says that if Denji shows up again tomorrow, he'll beat him again. He states that people who start this job for half-assed reasons die all too quickly. But Benji kicks him in the nuts, and today was the first time in his life that he had udon and sausage, and that he was treated like a human. It doesn't matter if he dies tomorrow, as long as you continue eating good. This takes Aki off, and he tries to attack him again. Apparently he has feelings for Makima, but it was no use, because Denji simply kicks him in the nuts again. When they go back to Makima, then she explains that the nut devil attacked Aki's nuts. Aki had understandable reservations about Denji, but Makima tells him that then she can turn into a devil, and she also tells them to both work together. So it's not like there was any room for negotiation. Then he starts living with Aki, and starts enjoying his average human lifestyle, with Jam on top one day. The two of them are on a mission to hunt a fiend. They get to the place, and Benji just casually beheads the creature. Aki gets annoyed because Benji isn't taking his job seriously, but in Denji's mind, he doesn't want the blood getting on the lewd magazines on the crowd, so I got the job done as quickly and immediately as possible. Then she realizes he finally has the good life he dreamt of. But you know, something's missing. Yes, indeed, he wants the touch of a woman's chest, mocking us to be more precise. He needs to feel some. That's the dream he once gave up on, but now it might be possible. Makima then introduces them both to a fiend named Power, who's going to be their partner from here on out. When Denji takes a look at her chest, he's pleased to start working with her. From there on out, things are rather sporadic between them. Power is an overgrown child, but Denji puts up with her nonsense because she's cute. Together they patrol the city for devils, but it's kind of hard, since Power's pretty strong. Most of the weaker devils just stay out of her sight, and this does lead to her boredom. However, when she does find one, in this case, I see Cucumber Devil, she jumps straight from the building and instantly kills it. Something that most definitely attracted public attention. Realizing this, both Genji and Power start pointing fingers at each other. Mostly just Power, telling lies, only for mock him at a shop out of nowhere and tell them to do their job properly. She explains that she really wants them to work together. Since this came from Makima, it was pretty powerful. Later Denji gets himself a drink from the vending machine and starts getting a little upset over everything. He isn't making any progress towards his dream. Power tells him that she only likes cats and hates humans. But if he can help her defeat the Bat Devil and get her cat friend back, she'll let him touch her. Oh boy, and they had themselves a deal then. She gets them a few hours off work to handle this case. The two of them go all the way to an abandoned house where suddenly Power flips and knocks Denji unconscious. It was a trap. His true intention was to exchange him for the cat. The devil decided to eat a human to heal his injuries. However, of course, it doesn't fancy Genji's blood and gets angry. So the deal is, Power reminisces about the days she spent in the wild, where her only companion was Meowie, and that devil decides to eat both the cat and Power as well. They also taste panda, and then starts heading towards the city, as that's where he'll find the human meat necessary for his nourishment. Then she feels like he can understand Power a little better now. He pulls the cord, turns into Chainsaw Man, and starts ripping and tearing. It doesn't go so smoothly, but Denji acts on instinct and splits the back devil's stomach open, ends in turn killing him for good. When Power wakes up, she doesn't understand why Denji helped her, so he then points to her chest and reminds her of the deal. Sure enough, she allows it, but just then, a leech devil appears, cuts off Denji's arm, and starts eating it. By this point, Denji's long blood and cannot transform, while the leech devil is out of blood. Since then she killed her man, the bad devil, but on taking a closer look, she decides that Denji is cute. However, Power and Meow, we weren't going to receive the same privilege. This leads to Denji acting anyway. He refuses to give up until he's achieved his dream, but that isn't enough. Denji was going to die. Fortunately, Aki pulls up with a fox devil, who kills the leech devil. Turns out Aki has a contract with this devil. In the hospital, Denji gets his arm reattached, thanks to a blood transfusion, and still Aki thinks that Power tried to kill Denji. But Denji starts covering for her. In the end, Aki decides to let Denji and Power be, because as for what it's worth, many people reported that the Chainsaw Man saved them, but they must comply with the rules. If he wants to continue the lifestyle, Power is also released from captivity. In the evening, Aki explains the situation of Makima, and also mentions that there were no traces of the gun devil. Next morning, Denji and Aki continue with their morning routine. There are some serious knocking on the door. It's power and well. She'll be living with them from now on. Makumen tells Aki to a call. That power has promised to behave. However, she doesn't eat her veggies, wastes a stupid amount of toilet paper, clogs the toilet, and refuses to take a bath. The monkey for Denji. She's forgotten, and so in the toilet, she sits and tells him that he can touch her chest. Ecstatic Benji goes for it. But something feels off. It's pads of her pie. So she lets him try again. But it felt quite underwhelming. This gives Denji some serious existential crisis. He simply can't enjoy life anymore. Nothing motivates him, and he's always When Makima notices him feeling down and reveals what happened, she teases him by biting his finger, which gives him a serious boost of oxymorons. Makima tells him that if he can kill the gun devil, a monstrosity that appeared 13 years ago and is responsible for over 1 million deaths, including Aki's, she'll grant him any wish he wants. That was enough motivation for Denji to get through anything. Following this, public safety gets a new mission. It's the hunting devil, dwelling inside of a hotel. -1 devil hunters are assigned to this task. So we're talking about Denji Power, Aki's friend Mano, the not-so-mature Kudbeni, and the cool-headed Hirokazu Anai. There are implications that this devil has eaten a piece of the gun devil, something Aki confirms, and that lights up the mood by telling everyone that whoever kills the devil gets a kiss on the cheek. I get Denji excited, but he recalls how underwhelming his previous experience was, and doesn't care about that. The one he'll be kissing is mocking. However, he changes this to when Himino asks him how about a French kiss. When they're about to end, Yoraku remembers the time when he first met Himino. It was actually in the graveyard, full of gun devil's victims there. She told Aki that all of her previous partners died, so she wants him to stay alive. Bail and turn. When they're on the 8th floor, Power goes ahead and allegedly kills a walking devil head. And then we see the devil human, who made a contract with the ghost devil. She once gave up her eye for the ability to use its power. Power then ceases. Cabin who is freaking out all over the place. And they soon realize that they're trapped on the floor. They can try going up and down, but they all end up on the same floor. It doesn't take long to notice. All the clocks have also stopped. For what it's worth, they've lost contact with the outside world. For the time being, they gather resources and goof around. Power goofs around the host. She talks about how if she wins the Nobel Prize, becomes the Prime Minister, she'll make the consumption tax 100%. Hinaka starts smoking, and then she realizes that it's the same brand Aki uses. So she explains that it's her who got on the addicted to smoking in the first place. It was back during this one time. Her partner died, and his girlfriend slapped him out. She basically put the blame on her, so when she looked the other way, he placed the gum in her hair. He later accepted a cigarette from the Mano, but was resolute that it'll be the only cigarette he smokes in his life. That was that. And this is now. Well, devil hunters die so young, so who cares about a little addiction like that now? The devil they killed has grown quite massive in size. It is the Eternity Devil, and it seems the only way it was going to let them free is that they offered to feed Denji to him. Suddenly Kei-Beni attacks Denji. She's ready to feed the guides of the devil, but Himuno and Aki are a little more level-headed however, as they continue to be locked on for a long time. Kei-Beni starts going crazy. So does to the Kazu that are afraid of the devil, and this causes the devil to get even stronger. So much so that it flips the entire floor vertically at 90 degrees. Kei-Beni's beyond freaking out at this point. She picks up a knife and comes charging straight to Denji. But Aki ends up entering the chat and gets stabbed instead. And this is when Himino panics. Power tries to stop the guy's bleeding. She doesn't want to lose the guy who cooks food for her now. Denshu prepares himself to be eaten by the Eternity Devil however. He tells everyone that he won't go down without a fight. And so Himeno better not forget about the kiss. He pulls his cord, turns into Chainsaw Man, and prepares to shred the devil. Though the devil does the same, but then she just keeps regenerating thanks to its blood. Emmanuel sees this and remembers that when she was at her previous partner's grave with her mentor Kishib, he told her that the most sane hunters ultimately die. Benji right here is insane. And to be fair, Aki is a little crazy for wanting to actually kill the gun devil. But she knows that if Aki fights the gun devil, he will die because he's cool, gentle and normal, kind of like everyone else. Or at least that's how she used to think. But maybe with someone insane like Denji, Aki can kill the gun devil. The endless back and forth between Denji and the Eternity Devil continues for 3 days. But finally, it gives up, offers its heart to get this over with. And they succeed. They'll go to a restaurant to celebrate this victory. It's a good night. However, Kabani still freaks out when another hunter mentions how Rookie was just killed recently. Alright, it was time for him to kiss Denji. But don't get your hopes up, guys. This is Chainsaw Man we're talking about. When Power explains that her IQ is either 500 or 1000, drunken Mino goes in for the kiss, but ends up puking in his mouth. Guys, this is exactly why one does not simply watch Chainsaw Man while having a meal. Then she goes to the washroom to vomit it out. Cool guy Hidazaku helps him with it, but when the guy expresses his admiration for Denji, then she tells him that his first kiss was vomit. There's nothing to admire him for. Then when Denji wakes up at night, he's in Jimina's room, with her on top of it, ready to do the deed. But then she's a true man. He knows that Mikuma is the only one he really wants to do the deed with. And so even though Yumano is literally on top of them, he can't help but think about the indirect kiss he received from Makima, thanks to the lollipop she gave him. Anyway, the following morning, Jimino was already forgotten about what happened the previous night, so she asks Denji to be friends. Denji has no problem of course, and when the two of them talk, they have themselves a deal. Then you will help Meino get together with Aki, and in return, she will help him get closer to Makima. Subsequently, the gun devil is here. It's here to eliminate the Tokyo public safety devil hunters. This creates a mass panic, and guns start being used to kill devil hunters. Makima is shot. Then she is shot at the cafe, along with Himeno, by the grandson of the young. As a leader, Aki whips out his fox devil to eat it, but the man turns out to be a human devil hybrid. The katana man, or should I say, the samurai sword. Aki manages to defeat him, but when the katana man's partner, Akane Swadari, enters the fight, Aki loses. Himeno was at death's door, so she decided to give up her body to the ghost devil so that it can at least kill the samurai sword. But Akane have had a contract with Snake Devil. She uses it to devour most of the ghost devils. Sadly, when Aki looks toward Yumano, the only thing that remains is her clothes. That's right, my dear friends, our Yumano is dead. As the final attempt, one of the ghost devil's hands pulls Denji's cord to turn him into Chainsaw Man, but he loses against the samurai sword by getting sliced in half, and that's the end of that. Akane samurai sword and their accomplices start moving Denji's torso in a van. Their goal was the Chainsaw Devil's heart. Meanwhile, Makima shows up and Kyoto unscathed. She's attacked, but all of her attackers die. She then meets Kurose and Tendo, two public safety employees in Kyoto, and tells them to gather the death row inmates at a high-altitude temple. Back to the van, carrying Denji. Everyone starts loading one by one. They all die, except the Kani and samurai sword. When Aga looks into Makima's death to confirm it, she realizes that the one causing the explosions is her. Back in the temple, Makuma asks the inmates to tell the names of the gang members, and conveniently enough, both the reciter and the named die. It is a ritual of some sort. Timid little Kabani shows up at the van and tries to fight both Akane and Katana Man using a mere knife and gun, but she manages to them play. She then apologizes to Denji for once trying to kill him, and then starts breaking down over Hirokazu's death. Makima, on the other hand, receives an update about the situation from Madoka that special Divisions 1 to 3 and for will be merging into one to compensate for the lost lives. Looks like only the non-human members have survived. Makima is also asked if she anticipated this attack, but she doesn't reply, and leaves with Kurosa and Tendo later. Denji and Power visit Aki in the hospital. He's told that only Benny and Madoka survived. Other than them, at least Aki has a hard time accepting him and his death. And then Kudo, Sane and Tendo show up and ask if he wants to continue his service as public safety. And so yes, he declares he'll avenge his family, and Himeno too. So in that case, they tell Akid to form a new contract with another devil. Seems the fox no longer wants to work with our boy. Tsunaki is visited by a woman who turns out to be Himeno's sister. She gives him letters, and Meino often sent him, and they're all about her trying to save our boy from this job. And Meino really didn't want Aki to die. Then there is Makima. She takes Dianjin Power to the cemetery, where they meet a devil hunter from Division 1. It's the man Humano talked about before, her mentor Kashibi, and the self-proclaimed strongest devil hunter. The man is supposed to whip both Power and Genji in the shape to make them stronger. He nearly kills Denji and Power many times. And after a hard day of like a dozen close calls, Kishub calls him today and sends them home. Of course, this frustrates them on Power, so they try to set a trap for him the next day, but getting their asses beaten again. As for Aki, he's taken by Tendo and Kudo say to a lockup where all the captured devils are kept. He can choose one and make a contract with it, and looks like the one he chooses is the future devil. Surprisingly enough, the future devil gives him his power without asking for anything in return. Pretty scary when you consider how this devil has the power to see the future. Maybe it first saw a major or some other tragic event. When Kishiba's training ends, he still has yet to receive a single from Genji and Power. He reveals their next mission. The entire Special Division and the other divisions are going to raid the Yakuza branch that is directly affiliated with the Gun Devil. And it's on. When Makima herself meets the Tokyo head of the Yakuza, she learns the names of those who have collaborated with the Gun Devil. And just by using this knowledge, she's able to eliminate many of them. At least the ones closed for current whereabouts. And so there is the red. The special division members enter the hideout
They're
first.
mostly made up of non-humans at this point,
So it's better for them to go first. In fact, he should tell the police
and bring
the
you
hunters not to enter. In the basement of the hideout, there are plenty of zombies. Remember how the Yakuza had made a contract with the zombie devil? Yeah, looks like they're the remains from that time. The devil hunters, namely Power, the shark fiend, the violence fiend, the spider devil, and the angel devils, stick around in the basement to get rid of them. Malachi and then she go up to take care of Akane and the samurai sword. Akane catches Aki off guard by using the ghost devil against them, but using the future devil, Aki is able to hold this ground. Not for long though. Before long, countless arms of the ghost devil manage chokehold him. In his mind and heart, he still hasn't moved on from Himano's death. This is really difficult for him, but it all comes down to fear. When he lets go of fear, the ghost devil also loses strength and stops fighting back. This allows him to chop the devil's head off. Akane then pulls out the other card and tries to kill Aki with the snake devil. But Kabini shows up out of nowhere and holds Akane at knife point seriously. This girl is more badass than any of us thought. Denji, of course, is finding the samurai sword. They are on a train. He uses the chainsaw on his leg to defeat the devil and then hands him over to the police. Aki then shows up there, and the two of them agree to have a nut-kicking competition. They'll both kick the katana man's nut to see who can make him scream the most. Ask for Akane. While being held at knife point, she was going to be forced into revealing information, so the snake devil kills her. It seems to be an involuntary act. Finally, there is Makima. She seems to have acquired the gun devil's flesh thanks to this mission, and now by combining over the flesh they already have, they can pinpoint his location, because the new large piece of flesh instinctively moves in a certain direction later. When the situation is resolved for the time being and they have dinner, Aki goes out to have his usual smoke on the balcony. Then she has a dream. He's young and in the back alley when he sees the door and faces it. He also hears Vegeta's voice from behind the door and seeks to open it, but Vegeta stops him and tells him never to open the door. And well guys, that is it for the first season of Chainsaw Man. For those of you who read the manga, please be nice to our only brother and let us hope that they announce a sequel soon. And that is the end of the video. As always, if you liked what you saw, subscribe to our channel. I'll be uploading a lot of videos just like this, so I'll see you in the next one.